Back to another episode of the Flying Upstream podcast. Today, you are with your co host, Louisa Anderson, in an impromptu recording session. And I want to talk about what has been going on in the energy today, these days, not just today, but really have a serious conversation into the present collective energy, talk about everything that is going on in the world and how this impacts our creativity, our self expression, and people's desire to share their voice. Today, and lately, really, the energy in the world, it just feels so loud and so chaotic, and the most important thing and the message that I really want us to get across is that that means it's full of potential. One of the things that I've heard say is while this is one of the most difficult times that most of us have experienced in our lifetime, this is also one of the best times to make a change, to use your voice. It is at times like this where things like podcasting becomes more than just content creation, and it really becomes a way to make sense of it all. For a lot of us, podcasting is a tool. Some of us listen to it, we play it and just as background noise, and some of us use it as a tool for personal growth, for professional development sometimes, and for connection a lot of times. But podcasting is a tool that is also great for being able to navigate these difficult times, being able to navigate this chaos that we're experiencing in today's world. And it's great for grounding. It is great for connection and really for amplifying your authenticity, your voice, especially when the world feels as uncertain as it does on a day to day basis. When there are a lot of things being thrown at your direction and you really don't have the time to react, we don't have the time to really process one thing, one event, one catastrophe before another one happens. It's really going to be up to us individually to start making a change in the collective. And that collective change occurs only when each one of us individually makes that change. Really grounding and listening to our intuition, to our inner voice, following our compass becomes essential in, moments like this when the world feels so crazy. It is really important in these situations that we remember the power of our voice, of whatever the message is that we want to share. It is super important that we do it at this time because, again, it is that collective energy, that everyone doing something to sort of change the narrative of what we're experiencing is what is going to create effective change and eventually lead in the creation of the world that we wish to live in, not the world that is being handed to us with the chaos and all of the drama that happens every day. For me, when I started podcasting, it was a very hesitant thing, as I share on the Flying Upstream blog. It wasn't something that I woke up one day and I was like excited to do it. Podcasting for me really began as a sort of, I know I should do this, but I don't really want to. And I can understand coming from that place when you're focused on a lot of the external factors that come into podcasting. It can be, it's really hard to be able to, it's really, really hard to understand that what we have to say holds value because we're made to feel like that's not true for the most part. A lot of the social conventions can make us feel like what we have to say doesn't have value. However, that is when it has the most value. It is when there are the naysayers, when there are the people who are having something to say that may not be congruent with what your message is, because that means that there is someone listening, right? And whether they like or don't like what you have to say, when we affect change, it's not always to the people who are looking for it. Sometimes it's the people who are hesitantly listening, just like the people who are hesitantly podcasting, as I was myself. And podcasting is a really great way to navigate the noise and everything that is going on outside of you, because it allows you to, within community, whether it's with guests or with other podcasters, it really allows you to get the different perspectives from people who are also trying to affect change. So there's yours, and you're using your voice to help change the narrative of what we're experiencing, of all the craziness. But then what is the next podcaster, what are they trying to do? What is their mission? And how does that impact a collective? And um, it really, really gives you an idea of how powerful using your voice is. When you think about the work and the number of people that each one of us individually could affect with our message and with our experiences and with our story, then collectively you sort of think about big picture, what can that do? And there is, a lot of hesitancy to be able to get out there to share your voice, and that's understandable. But I will say this: nothing worth doing comes easy. Nothing worth having comes easy. And if you want something that other people don't have, if you want to be able to affect change, you have to be willing to do something that others won't. So, what is that you're going to do? And using your voice is a great place to start. And sometimes your voice is not, your message is not super clear. Sometimes you don't know exactly what you want to say, you just know that you want to say something. The reason podcasting is so powerful and good for that is because you find that within the experience with, creating content on that regular basis, you're able to define that more clearly. And one of the things that I will say for people who may be hesitant, may have already thought about starting a podcast, sharing their voice, sharing their message in any way that's going to create some sort of effective change, but feel hesitant, I will challenge you to maybe, center yourself. For me, that looks like meditation. And I will always say this: meditation is not necessarily sitting there with, your legs crossed and, with the Buddha looking way. Meditation is whatever it is to you. For me, meditation is stillness. So whether I'm just sitting there or whether I have my legs crossed, um, sit there, and you don't have to do it for 50 minutes, 15 minutes. You can start with 5 minutes. The impact really, it's hard to believe because I'd hear other people saying it and I thought it was absolutely crazy. But for me, 2 minutes of meditation changed my life. So I know that sitting there for 5 minutes can be the beginning of something beautiful. And for you, go ahead and center yourself. Take 5 minutes and start with no noise. And if you have a hard time with that, then play some relaxing meditative music in the background and just force yourself to sit there for 5 minutes. And after those 5 minutes, I will tell you to journal. Grab a journal and just write. No objective. There's no purpose. There's no outcome that you should expect from this. Just write and let whatever comes out come out, you know? And don't judge it. Just write it and let it be. And then I would say go for a walk outside in nature. Go for a walk. This will really be a very good energy check before you can sit down and start recording or start mapping together how it is that you want to use your voice. It really brings you back to yourself. It allows you to center yourself and it allows you to align with your energy. And that's the place that you want to create from. So if you're hesitant, but you've thought about it, there's something more for you. And I want you to try that energy check and that realignment, that centering before you go ahead and start recording, because authenticity is much more important than recording something that's perfect. We don't want perfect. Perfect is not realistic. Most of us know that perfect does not exist. So when you only record and put out there what is perfect, are you showing up as authentically yourself? And that energy check should kind of remove all of those things that we tend to put in our minds that stop us from sharing our voice, from starting that podcast. So I hope that that little practical tip helps you. And just remember that podcasting and sharing your voice, it doesn't have to be complicated. It can be really soulful, really raw, really responsive to what's happening in the world. My first podcast, Silky Tales, was a very raw, spiritual sort of experience, and me just sort of trying to help people going through that spiritual awakening that I had and just helping them understand what was happening because I didn't when I had my spiritual awakening. And it was raw. There was just a lot of just truth and not much more than truth to it. And I share that because it doesn't have to be complicated. Start where you are. That's the best place to start. And if you don't know, for example, you're like, okay, I'm podcasting, I'm sharing my voice, but what's my objective? You don't need to have one to start. Just encourage your listeners to, to use their voice too. That's a great way to start if you don't know where to start. And with time, you will find what your message is and you will be able to refine that and you will be able to be more effective in whatever path you do choose to reclaim and to use that podcast for. It's really about using your voice. It's really about reclaiming the world that we want to live in. And it takes each and every single one of us doing that and taking the opportunity that this crazy time in our lives is handing to us, literally handing us an opportunity to affect change. So if the energy in the world right now feels really overwhelming, I just want to tell you that you're not alone. I feel it. We feel it every day. It's really hard lately. There are weeks at a time where it's so heavy. Um, but let it move you to into your expression. Let it move you into more of your authentic self. Let it move you into recognizing that your voice matters, that your message matters. And if you have been sitting on the idea of creating a podcast, maybe this is your sign. Maybe this is the sign you've been waiting for. So check out flyingupstreampodcast.com for resources and inspiration to get started. We are going to have something really exciting coming up. And who knows if it's something that is in alignment with you, it may be something that we could help with. So don't hesitate on going and checking out www.flyingupstreampodcast.com for resources, inspiration, and to get started. Until next time.